We are excited to present our last webinar in this series. We will be having future series, so please check our website in the future for some of our future webinar series. I'd like to give a brief introduction to JMH. Most of you have been in at least one of our previous webinars, so you've probably heard this a few times. But if not, I'd like to tell you that JMH Consulting works with adult and continuing education providers as a strategic partner helping departments to grow their programs and their revenue. We provide expertise in areas such as program launch and management, curriculum design, marketing, and strategy. And you'll probably notice today we emphasize data-driven decisions and a planning process that's repeatable and will really help you achieve direct results. Today, in fact, we'll be learning about a process for adding programs that make sense for your department.
Thanks, Jonna. I appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. As Jonna said, my name is Nicole Forschler, and I'll be your presenter today for the webinar. And so let's just dive right into it. The reason why we're talking about adding programs, certificates, and classes, this may be very obvious and should be. It's because programs, classes, certificates, these are the lifeblood of continuing education programs. JMH Consulting has worked with Emory University over the last 7 years, and if you take a look at the graph on your computer screen, you can see the kind of growth the university has experienced during this relationship. When JMH first started working with Emory, the school was known for its personal enrichment classes, and there were only a handful of professional development offerings. What you see here is the direct result of new programs that we've worked to continually add, and it's had an impact on the bottom line. This gets to the benefits of successful programs. I'm hoping that my picture is pretty appropriate. They become a cash cow for you. And money has a way of begetting money in that same way that success begets success. When you make money from a program, you can spend more money on marketing, have a greater outreach, bring in more students, and generate more revenue. When you bring in more students, you can hire additional people to handle those enrollments, and again, bring in more students and generate more revenue. The flip side is an unsuccessful program which does not generate money or attract new students, and it becomes a money pit. There are not only the costs of launching that program associated with developing the program, running marketing, potentially hiring new people, but you also have opportunity costs because time was spent on something that didn't generate money. And it's instead of time that could have been spent on improvements to an existing program or the choice to launch something else that could have had a positive impact. In a worst case example, a bad program undermines good programs and creates a bad reputation for your department. Now, the bottom line is you're either going to be spending time building successful programs or you're spending time building ones that flop. Regardless, you need to continue building and adding to your offerings. Coasting on what you have, it's just not an option. Because as the old saying goes, change is the only constant. Goodness knows in our industry we're certainly experiencing that. Hence my wonderful, of course, butterfly metaphor. Programs that are your cash cows now, well, they may not be relevant in 5 years. To illustrate this, just think about how much this industry has changed. This webinar wouldn't have even been a consideration as an educational tool 10 years ago. And now most CE departments have some kind of online learning, whether it's synchronous, asynchronous, or a blend of online and in class. I thought this quote that you see on the screen was also great for this situation and what we're talking about. And change in the right direction is what I hope that I can help you to achieve. A plan for creating positive change through adding powerful new programs that, even in these tough economic times, will build your bottom line. I'll be sharing with you today some best practices, and a lot of this may be stuff that you've heard before, and hopefully a lot of this are things that you're currently doing. My goal is to help you take these best practices and put them into a methodology. In doing so, it may help fill in some of the gaps that you have and help you to make better, more informed decisions. My metaphor for our agenda is a road trip. First, we're going to talk about how you determine your destination. Next, we're going to look at how you research the route. And in order to do that, you're going to look at your landscape and take into consideration the different options you have for getting to where you want to go. And finally, choosing your vehicle. In this case, your vehicle will be the new programs that you choose to launch. In the case of my metaphor, I've made sure that my vehicle came with a dashboard tchotchke. You can see my dancing hula dancer there. To set your expectations, I want to let you know that we will not be getting into a conversation concerning program extras like branded folders, USBs, or cool travel mugs, so the metaphor won't extend to program tchotchkes. For a graphic, to take a look at this graphic, you can see kind of a graphical representation of what we're going to go through today. This process is cyclical, and here, these are the stages. First, we're going to take a look at where you want to go. Another way of thinking about this is understanding your vision for the program. And to determine your vision, you want to look out 3 at the most 5 years, and we're going to talk more about that in a moment. Next, you want to take a realistic look at where you are now. These 2 points, where you want to go and where you are now, help to frame what you want to do in the near future, kind of realistic, what you need to begin to work on, also to prepare for the long term. The next, I'm going to discuss with you the kind of research you want to do in order to make smart decisions about your programs that are driven by more than just your gut. And then we'll identify options. Finally, those options will be prioritized to create a program launch plan. Now, throughout this presentation, I'll be stopping to take questions and conduct polls. I'll try and answer any questions at those poll markers. If you think of anything that you want to ask or comment that you want to make after this webinar has completed, you can also reach me via email. So let's get started. We'll start with our first poll. And just for everyone to share, I'd like to ask you how many new programs, and by programs I mean certificates, a series of classes, not just 1 or 2, or a degree program have you launched in the last 6 months? And the next question related to that is, what percentage of those programs that you've launched are the result of an instructor or a vendor approaching you with a great idea? So we'll take a minute and let everybody cast their vote. I know frequently, and it's become a real trend in the industry, where you have third-party vendors who come to you with ideas for programs. And the wonderful thing about that is getting those things up and running quickly. The downside is whether or not they're customized, tailored, and most importantly, whether or not you have an audience in your area to support that. Because those third-party vendors are not always doing the research on your community to be able to tell you that.
10% say 0 new programs. 60% have 1 to 5 new programs in the last 6 months. 30% said 6 to 10, and 0 said 11 plus.
Great, and I'll pick up there, Jana. Programs that have been a result of an instructor or vendor, 18% said 25%, way too many percentages. 50%, the vast majority of you said about half of those were the result. And then slightly under that, 75%. And there's also a strong group of 18% of people who are participating said all of them were a result of a third-party vendor or instructor coming to you. And again, I think that's really consistent with what we're seeing in the industry. And what I'm hoping that that everyone will get from this presentation is when those third-party vendors or instructors come to you, you're going to be able to say yes or no. That's consistent with the overall vision of where we want to take our department. So to make sure that energy is being spent wisely, and also yes or no, we know we have an audience for this, so money is being well spent.